Up until that summer, my life was just one huge boring cycle. School, sports, sometimes being with friends, and the occasional relationship. I thought to myself as I stared into the void of nothing, lost in my thoughts. Those were all that I had left. I knew something was coming and it was not friendly. But let's rewind back a month to where this all started. Let's get through the basics. My name is Joshua Devlin. I am 15 years old, an only child, and I am a freshman at Johnston's High School. I am what you would call a loner. I have few friends, and the ones I have are never around, constantly skipping school to smoke weed and drink until they puke. When they come back with bloodshot eyes, they tell stories of the others getting near the brink of death. Stupid shit I'm just not into. Yet, how could I turn them away? I hate being as alone as I am already. As the end of the day bell rang, all I could think about was going home and relaxing. I grabbed the books I needed for my homework I would never do and started walking home. It was an hour walk, but I decided to take my time. Around 5:45, I was about a mile away from my house. If I take the shortcut, I mumbled to myself, it will cut the distance in half. I started to walk through the fields. I noticed something strange going on at a farmhouse that I had never seen before. I saw what looked like a candlelight inside. As I started over to it, my consciousness screamed at me to leave. But I kept creeping towards it, not knowing what would happen next. Not knowing the evils that awaited me inside, I slipped through the broken door and headed to where I saw the light. On the ground there was a mixture of beer cans, smoke joints, and the worst of them all was the blood, shining scarlet in the light. I peered into the room. I saw 5 people, each holding a candle at each point of a pentagram. My breath was taken away as I realized what was going on in this house. I walked backward a few steps, and as I turned to leave, I saw a baseball bat swinging straight at me. The light turned to dark as it slammed into my skull. As my vision cleared, I saw them. That's when I pieced everything together. My 2 friends that constantly skipped school were in this cult. I would have snapped at them, but I was gagged and tied down in the pentagram. I noticed something was wrong. There were only 4 of them now. "Don't worry," Nick said as he stared down at me. "Everything will be all right." I wouldn't have believed that if the Lord said it himself. Their garb consisted of a black robe with a hood that depicted Satan. And on the back of the robes are pictures of various tortured victims. I saw the blood around me and I knew something terrible was about to happen. When I saw the 5th member come back with a knife, I feared for my life. He got down on his knees next to me and explained they were going to sacrifice something of mine as payment for intruding. An eye for an eye, right, Josh? I remember you, and by the looks of it, you remember me as well. That would be John, a boy whom I got in a fight with who ended up losing one of his eyes. I saw an insane look in his eyes as he gave me a sinister grin. He took his knife and with no pressure dragged it across my face. I felt the coldness of the blade and choked back a cry of fear. He then took the knife and put it into my tear duct. As he pushed it farther in, the pain was so intense that I almost passed out. I started losing sight out of my eye and the blood made everything seem red. But it was still there. He stopped and I faintly made him out saying, "Is that all you can take? I never gave in to the darkness when I lost my eye, you little bitch." As I came back to my faded senses, he took his dirty, bloody fingers and reached in my eye socket. I could feel everything in there. The way his nails scraped the back wall of my eye socket, it almost felt like he could scrape my brain. The pain and pressure was too intense. Just as I saw fluid fly every which way through my good eye and my reddened eye, he gave a quick tug in which I heard a pop and suddenly there was nothing. I was instantly nauseous and quickly threw up from a mix of dizziness and pain. Agony doesn't even come close to describing this gut-wrenching experience. To this day I can still feel the sickening motions I felt at the time. I saw him through half of my faded, flickering vision of my other eye. He cut the optical cord. As twisted as he was, he stood there, examining it. Once again, I threw up from it all. He then started tossing the eye up and down with a sly grin on his face. I closed my good eye for a moment. Just before I drifted off from exhaustion, I saw something crawl from a small hole next to my head that I failed to notice. When I came to, my vision was fine in both eyes. It felt like every other morning I've had. I woke up in my bed at exactly 7:25, like every morning. I showered, changed my clothes, and brushed my teeth. It was when I looked up in the mirror that I knew something was wrong. My left eye was the usual blue, but my right was a dark red with specks of black in it. I screamed and ran for my mom, who was making a delicious-smelling breakfast in the kitchen. I explained to her what I saw, but she said my eyes were both normal. I was the only one that could tell. After eating, I went to thank my mother, but as soon as I got close to her, something took over me. I saw myself go into a rage, throwing dishes and yelling. I couldn't control any of my movements. It was as if something was taking me over. Suddenly, my eye shot out of its socket and passed through her eye and embedded into her brain. It violently thrashed around for a bit, then retracted back to me. I regained control of myself and stared, crying at the body of my mother on the cold tile floor. I then realized that tears only came out of my left eye. I could have sworn I heard a soft laughter within my head. I sprinted out of my house and ran, my face tear-streaked, down the road until I could not run anymore. I then realized this thing now controlled my life. I am no longer myself. I am it. I thought of many things at that time, but mostly about what had just happened. I had killed my own mother. My thoughts are the only things that it cannot take from me, even though I wish it could steal these. I walked through my town, past the pool, past my high school, past my house, and went all the way over to the cliffside. I sat there looking at the sea and the rocks below. I played over the previous events in my mind and didn't wish any more pain upon anyone. I stood up, said sorry, and jumped. As I fell, my life flashed before me. I saw my first A-plus paper, hanging out with friends, cuddling with my girlfriend, and lastly, hugging my mom when my father died. A single tear escaped my eye. I thought, it's finally over. I heard my tear splash against the rocks, felt a quick pain in my head, and then there was nothing. My life may be finished, but the eye still survives. Now that you know of it, it will find you and take you over. It will always be there, no matter where you go or what you do. I wish you the best of luck. Josh.